Welcome to Book Club. I'm really into fun facts. Julie has an endless array of pop culture knowledge. Overall, I would say I liked it.
Something about the way she writes is like really concrete and immediate. Who is this man? Why is he in this costume? Why did he drop a squid? You teased some juicy deets about the creation of this book.
This is, again, what Victoria finds interesting, not what is actually most important about these people.
What stories are we going to tell ourselves about this year?
Welcome to the party.
Welcome, guys.
Welcome to Book Club, everyone. This is just Julia without Victoria. Victoria is moving, so she is very busy. So we've decided to take a little brief interlude this week without a book. And instead, I wanted to share with all of you a little taste of one of our membership tiers called the TISM tier, named after the way that podcaster Mike McHargue refers to autism. I am autistic. I've talked a lot about autism on the podcast through different books. We covered Neurotribes. We covered 2 of Naoki Higashida's books, The Reason I Jump and Fall Down 7 Times Get Up 8, as well as a little bit on The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. And as the podcast has gone on, I've gotten questions from a few listeners asking for resources on how to learn more, particularly from, adults trying to understand whether or not they're autistic and trying to find a diagnosis and such. So when we created our membership tiers on Buy Me a Coffee, we created a second one that's only $2 different. It's only $5 a month, specifically dedicated to autism resources. And so a big part of that is that I write an essay on my Medium account each week and provide the sort of free friend link to members of this TISM tier so that you can read a bit about what I'm learning and things that I've discovered about myself, my own personal experiences for the most part. And then as I continue doing more research and I find things that I discover about autism research, autism, the autistic community as a whole, I'm going to be writing more about that as I go on. It's part of why I'm going to grad school. So I thought I would share one of my favorite essays that I've written to hopefully, if there are any autistic listeners out there or people who think they might be autistic who want some love and support, this one's for you. So I'm going to be reading an essay called What Your Autistic Body Feels is Real. How I Found Out I Was Gaslighting Myself for Years and What I'm Doing Now. So I'm going to get my reading voice on. All right, here we go. So I wrote an essay recently about how my autistic body has been in a near constant fight or flight response for a significant portion of my life. And I've been wondering, why didn't I know? Why was the idea that my body was screaming at me that she felt unsafe such a surprise? Wasn't I the one feeling it the whole time? Then this week I had a really big feeling. I'm not 100% sure what it was, but it was capital B big, and it scared me. Overwhelmed my whole body, so much that I couldn't sleep. All I could do was lie there and feel it. A parent of one of my students had criticized my teaching. It was about autism, so it felt very personal. Obviously, this immediately caused a reaction, the big feeling, in all caps. But my first response was not to acknowledge the feeling or dive into it deeper, or try to understand it, or even try to comfort myself through it. My first reaction was to tell myself that it wasn't happening, that it shouldn't be happening, that I shouldn't be feeling the way I am feeling because, quote-unquote, normal people wouldn't be feeling that. And if this feeling is going to get in the way of me doing my job, then it shouldn't exist. My first reaction was to gaslight myself. Myself! I finished up my workday and cooked myself dinner, and then finally, when I sat down to watch TV at the end of the day, the feeling came out of the box and overwhelmed my body and paralyzed me. But it was bigger this time, and it felt worse. I didn't sleep a wink. Autistic people are sensitive. It's part of our brain structure. There's more connectivity between the different parts of the brain. We experience everything a lot more than the average neurotypical person. That's not a judgment of better or worse, that's just how we are. But the neurotypical world does not accommodate for such sensitivities. In fact, it actively derides them. Emotional sensitivity is linked to the concept of quote-unquote femininity in the public consciousness, and that understanding has been used to oppress those born as women and stifle those born as men. And that's just the emotional kind. Then the physical sensory sensitivities that autistic people experience are highly inconvenient for neurotypical people because they don't fit into the extremely efficient and grueling systems of life and work and education that our world has established as the quote-unquote ideal. So neurotypical people's solution is often to pretend those sensitivities don't exist. Because if autistic people and other neurodiverse people with sensory sensitivities are telling the truth and these systems are harmful to our bodies and our nervous systems, then that means we would have to change them, and obviously we can't have that. I had a dance teacher when I was about 12 years old who was putting on my eye makeup for a performance. And she told me to look up at the ceiling, straight into the blinding and painful fluorescent lights. My eyes started watering, which messed with the makeup, and when she asked if I was okay, I said, "I'm light sensitive." Her response was to repeat back what I had just said in a whiny voice, like I was being a bratty child for stating a fact about myself. Her response as a grown woman was to mock and belittle me for having a feeling. She forcefully moved my head back into place and kept doing my makeup, and I let her. I've been digging around for these examples this week, just to keep my grasp on sanity, and to avoid dealing with the big feeling. And they just kept popping up. I couldn't believe how many there were. Little things, like teachers rolling their eyes when I said the yellow font on black presentation slides hurt my eyes, so I couldn't read the notes. Or big things, like doctors disbelieving the strength of the reaction I was having to a procedure or a medication. Apparently, in my attempts to mask, which is just to pass as a neurotypical, in the hopes that I could make friends and be successful and accepted in the world, I was taking this message of, quote, "your feelings shouldn't be happening," unquote, and putting it into action for myself. It was a kind of preemptive strike on my own senses. If I shut myself down before I have a reaction, then no one would even notice or say anything about it. No one would ever know I was different. I took masking to a whole new level. I wasn't just hiding from the rest of the world, I was hiding from myself. And I think after a while, this response became automatic, to the point where I didn't even know I was doing it anymore. A feeling would appear, and my brain would immediately identify it as dangerous. Quote, "Well, body, this feeling of being upset by that repetitive noise is not an acceptable feeling to have. It's going to make people realize we're not one of them, so I, the brain, just need to get rid of it. And if we can't do that, we'll hide it really deep somewhere where she'll never find it again." Unquote. Psych! I went to therapy, and I found it, and now that feeling I buried haunts me all the time. So what do I do now, besides writing an essay about it? From the work that I've done in therapy, the books that I've read, the podcasts I've listened to, and the autistic people's stories I have followed, here's what I am prescribing for myself. Number 1. Move your body and pay attention to it. Stim, dance, walk, exercise, whatever that looks like, just move. Don't let the feelings get stuck, but let it flow through you, and notice how your body feels without judgment. 2. Send colorful clouds of breath to the parts of your body that feel tense or on high alert. Tell them that they can breathe too. 3. If the judgy thoughts come up, thank them for their input, put them on a leaf, and let them float down the river with all the other thoughts. 4. Once you find the feeling, give it a hug. Thank it for keeping you alive all these years, and then ask it to take a break for a bit. 5. If you can't find the feeling, send the same message out into the void. Tell your body it's okay, maybe next time. 6. Give yourself a sensory bath. Make a list of all the sensations that bring you the most joy or the most comfort, and just give yourself that gift. a comfort snack, a security blanket, a song that's been on repeat for the last 2 weeks, a YouTube video you watch when you're feeling nostalgic, a candle or a lotion that smells like home, a scalding hot shower that takes you out of your head. Whatever it is, allow your body to soak it up and rejuvenate your system. She's been through a lot today. 7. When you feel ready, ask for help from people you trust. 8. Then write down what you remember of the feeling and what followed so you can more easily spot the pattern next time. I'll just leave you with this. Autistic bodies hold a lot of wisdom. They are the canaries in the coal mine for the parts of the world we have built that aren't good for any humans, autistic or not. Autistic bodies are good, and what they feel is real, and however they express that feeling, as long as it does not harm themselves or others, is also good. It's something I know, but I don't know if I know it yet. I'm still writing a new narrative for myself, and I hope you'll join me. End of essay. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for listening. If that resonated at all with you, or if you're interested in learning more, you can become a member at buymeacoffee.com/bookclubwithjv and join the TISM tier. Members can also help us choose our books. We're going to be planning season 8 here in a bit, and we've already covered one book that was suggested by a listener, so we're going to be asking around for some more. So you can help choose what we cover on the podcast, and then also, I'm not going to give an exact date, but in the next few months, we're going to be doing a live event where all of our listeners can be in the same place. Because a big part of what we want to do is create. I know community is the big buzzword that everyone likes to use, but it's true, right? Like, a huge part of a book club is sharing the books with other people. So we'd love to have you on board and get your input on things and join the club. So happy reading, everyone. We will see you next episode. We're back to a full-length book next time. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Book Club with Julia and Victoria. Chime in with your own thoughts and recommendations on Instagram at bookclubwithjv or through the contact form on our website, www.bookclubwithjv.com. Our website is also where you can find show notes for this episode, which include links to any of the recommendations we gave or other tidbits we mentioned. Make sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're currently listening, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple while you're there. This episode was co-hosted and produced by myself, Victoria Bruick, along with Julia Clausen. Our music is composed by Greg Bruick. Our logo was designed by Gabby Febland, and Rebecca Gesney is our project manager. We'll catch you all on our next episode. Happy reading!